I'm going to walk you through building what we call a personality. A personality is the biggest flaw on Google AdSense. Google has been able to detect fake from real traffic based on the IP address, the device, and the time zone. The IP address. It is quite mystical when people think the IP address solves all the issue. Yes, the IP address plays a very huge role when it comes to building up a bot that will be undetectable, as using an IP address has already been flagged in the past would cost your Google AdSense account. It is recommended to use a proxy server, which is a residential proxy server, or to use a botnet proxy server. There are two types of proxy servers. We have residential, premium, data centers proxy servers. These are the ones that are open on the dark web, on the open web. You make a very quick Google search on proxy servers. You will see tons and tons of different companies that provide proxy servers. The problem with using established proxy servers are simple. These companies are basically working in line and in hand with digital marketing agencies. They also work in line with the governments, and they are also transparent about the fact that they are proxy servers. They also log your activities. So this simply means if you're using a proxy server on your bot to generate AdSense click, do note that there is a high possibility of Google catching up with you. And it's basically because whatever proxy server you are currently using, it's also being shared with thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. You must have noticed that whenever you use a VPN or a proxy server, you are usually being welcomed with catch bar. Verify you're not a robot. Lots of requests have been coming in from this IP address. In reality, a proxy server is usually being used by hundreds of people. And so you're not new to that. Using such proxy servers that has already been used by a huge number of people, whom majority of the times are people who fall into one of the following categories. Trying to stream content that do not belong to them. One, if you get to notice, Netflix, for instance, wouldn't show you certain movies if you're from certain location. However, that restrictions is wiped off or waived off the moment you switch on a VPN and tunnel your location from some other country. I can't watch certain exclusive movies in the US, especially since I'm from Africa. However, if I have a VPN that gives me the capacity of selecting a US location, I can stream movies that are quite exclusive to just the US. However, if you have used Netflix quite for some time, you would also notice that most times when you switch on a VPN, Netflix will prompt you telling you that it seems you're putting on a proxy server or a VPN and that your location doesn't really look real, looks funny. That if you're putting on a VPN, you should turn off the VPN. And that is basically because Netflix, as well as other platforms that have exclusive content, has outsourced other companies whose job is to track down IP addresses of VPNs and different processor vendors. So this simply means that if NordVPN, IPVanish, or any VPN brings up a process server or an IP address, you can watch certain exclusive content from a particular server. But if you've used Netflix for too long, after a while, you won't be able to watch, certain movies using that particular IP address. You would have to either tunnel to a new server, which is even if you're choosing US, you have to tunnel to a new server, a new location, or you have to turn off your VPN completely. The problem is Netflix will not ban your account when they detect you're using a proxy server or a VPN, but Google will definitely ban your account if you're being spotted using a VPN or proxy, especially if a huge number of clicks engagement, views came in from that particular proxy server. Google has outsourced the third party service of numerous companies that try to cramp down with false locations, which is using proxies and VPN. And this simply means you're already at risk if you're trying to use a VPN that is open on the open web. Like I said, the Okecbot is basically an ethical hacking research facility, and everything we do here is done ethically. The bots we use are being used with proxy servers that are not on the open web. This is because our proxy servers are kind of botnets. It's basically trying to use real human devices as a tunnel. The real fact is, most of these people do not really know that we're basically tunneling traffic through them. Imagine having a phone like this and you installed an app you were not very sure of what it does, maybe a free app. Part of what the app would do is to have an open socket where they can route requests through your phone. For instance, if I use Verizon, AT&T, maybe Airtel Nigeria over here in Nigeria, and my SIM card is on this phone, and I have Airtel on this phone. Now, if I install third-party apps that are not from the App Store, and if this is Android specifically, for instance, these apps are molded in such a way that the developers of this app can use my phone to make certain requests, such as browse the internet, have unrestricted access to certain things you wouldn't, or most times even do certain things impersonating me. Botnet is simply sending people viruses, Trojan, or infecting a computer or a phone so that you can go back and use that computer and phone to do something that the owner doesn't even know. We have a syndicate of hackers on the dark web whose job is to compromise people's phone and devices and open back doors where these people's phone and devices can be used to search for certain things on the internet or carry out certain actions. Botnet is also what we use to bring down savers. If you want to bring down somebody's website, you deduct the website or you use hundreds of computers to keep requesting information from the particular websites. After a while, that website will go offline. The reason you cannot do this with a proxy server on a botnet is majority of those IP addresses have already been profiled as, a VPN or a proxy server. And when you use a system as smart as Cloudflare or any of all these good firewall systems, they can be able to track a particular IP address and help your website from not going down. However, if a hacker uses botnet to bring down your websites, you have little or no chances of surviving it, as the traffic will be coming in from numerous locations with different IP ranges that your computer cannot detect. The doxing works perfectly fine when you use botnet because you'll be using different real human IP addresses from real people who are using their devices. And these people have practically used their devices to do other legitimate things. So when you run requests through them, there is no catch bar, there is no restrictions, it goes very well. Now, what we recommend you use as a proxy server is a proxy that is quite expensive, exclusive, not easily sorted, because the more people who use a proxy server is the more the proxy server will be easily detectable as a proxy. Proxies are only detectable when they're highly used by different range of people. So this is simply why you're being told, we notice an unusual activity. So many requests have been coming in from your IP. Click here to verify you are not a robot. It is basically because if numerous requests comes in from a particular IP address, Google or whatever agency would know vividly well there is a huge traffic coming in from a certain range of IP, and that traffic might be either bot traffic or invalid traffic. So this should be worth stating that in as much as a proxy server sounds good, the wrong proxy server could risk your AdSense account. And next on the device clone, it's time zone. When we try to clone a particular bot, we want to make this bot to be accurate at all times and this bot should act just like a human being. The biggest problem we had in the past were people using VPN with a different time zone. For instance, I'm in Lagos, Nigeria. I can pop up my VPN and select the UK, the US, Canada, Brazil, in as much as my IP address shows that I'm in these countries. However, my time zone, which is the time on my computer, would still show that I'm in Nigeria. If you have read so many documentaries of how people have been tracked or how the relocation of people have been spotted, you're going to notice that majority of those data comes from the time zone. As a certified red team expert and an ethical hacker with years of experience, I can vividly tell you that one of the easiest ways to triangulate any single person on the internet, it's not to track their IP address, but is to track the time zone of their machine. Anybody can use a proxy server or an IP, but only few people are ready to go through the stress of changing the time on their computer. To change the time zone on your device, you would have to head over to the settings on your computer and switch from whatever time zone you have currently to the time zone you're impersonating. This is a very big problem for people who basically create bots, as they are not that skillful to create classes or model systems that can do these things automatically. Now, remember vividly find that if you're using a VPN, at one point you can switch over to the US. At the next point, you can switch over to Brazil, to Asia, to even Hong Kong. It only takes a click on a VPN to change your location from where you are to wherever country in the world you want to be. However, only your IP addresses has changed. Nothing happened to your time zone. And your still country of residence or your physical country or whatever time zone is stored on your machine still stays. So this simply means if I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm choosing lots of other countries on my VPN, Google will still triangulate that I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, because my time zone is selling me out. So creating this on a bot became quite very difficult for software developers. So they don't even bother doing that. They basically just focus on getting you a process server that is usually saturated and everybody uses it, give you lots of clicks and views. It feels like you're making money from Google AdSense. Not until Google bans you, puts an ads limit on you, and you end up losing your Google AdSense account. However, when you use a dedicated or exclusive IP address, or use a botnet from the dark web that goes through AT&T or Verizon, and you set a time zone to be coming in from a particular location, then you have actually solved one of the biggest anonymity, making it harder for Google to detect. And even if other parameters flags you off, having a time zone properly set with a process server that is exclusive or a botnet can help you still bypass a particular detection. It is only when other activities are done over escalated that Google might come back again to put an ads limit or get you banned. But if done moderately, a good process server and a good time zone can let you go through some Google detection. But what lets you even go through better detection? The local storage. The year 2017, Google knew that people were starting up click farms. Click farms were basically places where people buy a whole lot of real devices. They open up these devices, connect it to the internet, and stream different media. If I, as an artist, sang a song and I want my song to be streamed all the time and downloaded, I would meet a stream farm. A stream farm is like an organization, usually illegal, that has lots of devices, probably hundreds of Spotify accounts or Apple Music, or hundreds of Audio Mac, thousands of accounts, thousands of YouTube accounts. Now, they use all these devices in their custody to keep streaming your music or keep watching your video or whatever the aim of the streaming farm was. Google was able to fight against these people by bringing out what we call a local storage. A local storage is basically some information that Google stores on your device. So these informations tag along. By tag along, it simply means it stores the last things you did as well as the engagement, interaction, movements, and your habits around your logged in section. This means if I log into my Google account today, every single thing I'll be doing would be stored on my local storage. Now, this is the same thing as creating what we call a hidden field in a form. If you're a software developer watching this and you're familiar with HTML, you would notice that, or you would know that at a point in time, you must have come across this. You can create what we call a hidden form. A hidden form is in a form like this, you create a particular place where certain thing will be kept and you make it hidden from the eyes of anybody filling the form. The essence of it is if somebody is trying to post data directly to your server, they would not be able to know that there's a hidden form that gets sent as well. And many of the time, those people don't even bother reading through the page, so they would be stuck. A hidden form is basically trying to create some information on a particular device in order to track this device well. Aside cookies, there's what we call local storage. The local storage keeps track of I'm using an iPhone, I'm logged in today, and this is what I did, this is what I did. I also set some temporal settings. Like for instance, if I'm watching a YouTube video, I could set it to be autoplay. Autoplay simply means after the video finishes, another video can automatically be played continuously. I can also decide to reduce the volume of the music on my YouTube or increase it. So how does YouTube know that I reduced the volume of the video I've been watching? It is from the local storage. Each time I visit YouTube and I make some settings, adjustment in settings, those settings and adjustments are usually being stored on the local storage. But it's beyond just your temporal settings. It goes into also putting in certain habitual detections that if you don't carry them out, Google will detect that such traffic was invalid. Majority of the bot traffic developers have known are not even aware of local storage. And this is alone one of the major reasons more than 60% of the bots being created gets detected. And then finally, resolution. Resolution is paired with the device type. I've seen lots of people feel this particular approach. And in as much as the aim of this Okecbot is to try as much as possible to be able to show what anyone can do to bypass Google's detection. I also hope that Google comes up with a better way of detecting false traffic. As if these things are being fooled, Google gets completely fooled. Google should come up with better parameters that would enable advertisers to really make money from advertisements and not lose money to people who would use bots to generate engagement. I'm saying all this because the device was the biggest way Google was able to detect bot traffic. In the past, developers were quite familiar with running web scraping scripts and packages. Anyone could use Puppeteer, anyone could use WebDriver, anyone could use basically one of these web automation modules. The only problem was they were all using one user agent, which is a Windows computer. Everyone wanted to create a bot that would generate clicks and generate views and engagements, but they paid little attention to what a real traffic report should look like. So majority of the developers created bots that all came out as one thing, a Windows computer. By default, when you create a bot using any bots module, you're usually giving, a user agent. This user agent sometimes would put you in troubles as most of the bots have their user agent stated that they are using a web scraping tool. Most other user agents would just clearly show that they're a Chrome browser. But where there's a problem is when it comes to traffic analysis, different people visit a website or YouTube channel with different devices. So if you're a software developer trying to come up with a bot traffic system, And currently, what you have right now, it's the normal bot that uses different user agents. You're in a I'm sorry, a particular user agent. You're in a very big problem, and I'm going to explain how in a few minutes. I want you to understand that the only way you can beat Google, or the only way Google's vulnerability was discovered, was paying a close eye to what real traffic looked like. When you have real traffic, you often have this traffic from different locations and regions, from different countries, from different places, and this traffic often coming with people using different devices, iPhone, Android, tablets at different time during the day, during the afternoon, or during the evening. Now, when software developers try to create web traffic bots, because of the complexity in time that it would take to create bots that will be using different devices, they end up giving up to go for the easier approach, which is using a particular uniform device. This is simply where everybody is creating a device, or everybody is creating a bot rather, that uses a particular device. Now, most developers have different bots that appears as different device. They will have an iPhone bot that will show up as an iPhone, an Android bot that will show up as an Android, and a Windows bot that will show up as a Windows device. This approach has been used by so many developers in the dark web, and it's been very effective. When you come in as lots of devices, it makes things easier. But however, they were only able to do this for views. And that is because once you set in a particular device, the screen resolution gets smaller. In order to show you a practical of what I'm doing, I'm going to take you over to my web page and show you what I mean in real time. This will help you understand the role the device type plays. And then I would end this up with telling you what we had done on the Okecbot AI that made every single thing here stands meaningful and yet still completely becomes undetectable, because the system would automatically help you fine tune your bots in such a way it becomes undetectably launched. I'm going to start with showing you what a normal device looks like. Currently, right now, you can see my screen. I'm going to expand this so you can see it clearly. And I want you to pay attention on where it says iPad. At the moment, it says iPad Air. And that is practically because I'm currently selected um, an iPad as a device. Now I'm going to come over to where I set CUDA, and I'm going to change this from CUDA, which is currently what is being set at the moment. I'm going to change this from CUDA to my user agent. Every computer you use have what we call a user agent. A user agent is basically the device you're using, the agent you're using. When you visit the internet with a device and a browser. The device could be an iPhone, an Android, a Windows computer, or a Mac computer. And the browser could be Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge, Opera, or even Safari. So when you look at what you can see here, you can clearly see that this my user agent is showing iPad, which is iPad CPU. It also says iPad like Mac OS. So it's basically telling Google that this device I'm currently using is an iPad. At the top, I can set this iPad from iPad and set it to show off as a Samsung Galaxy. I've set this as a Samsung Galaxy, and I presume you can see that. Now I'm going to refresh the page again. I'm going to search for it again, my user agent. And now you can see it has updated as a Samsung. You can see Linux, you can see Android 8.0. That is it. I can also change this from Samsung, and I can decide to make it show up as maybe an iPhone. So I'm going to use the iPhone 12 Pro, and I'm going to refresh the page, and you're going to see it's going to show in as an iPhone. Now, this simply means that I can decide to appear as any device. I can choose to show up as an iPad. I can choose to show up as an iPhone. I can choose to show up as an Android device. Now, in as much as it sounds ethically easy. I mean, hearing it, it makes more sense when you appear as people from different devices that Google would find it difficult to detect, which is true. But the problem comes in with clicking on ads. When you look at the device type, which says like Windows, iPhone, Android, or Mac, the model could be for Windows, Windows 10, or Windows 11. Because when it comes to Windows computer, we don't have anything like a particular model of Windows computer. It just shows Windows 10 or Windows 11. When we choose iPhone, you can see some little models of iPhone. When you choose Android, you can see some varieties of Android. When you choose Mac you can only see like Big Sur, Catalina, Ventura. When you choose Linux, you can see Ubuntu, CentOS. Now, if you're a software developer, this seems to make sense, but if you're not a software developer, what it basically means is that when you choose a device type, it will show you a model and then finally a browser. This browser is like Safari, Chrome, Opera, you get the point. Now, the resolution is where it becomes a problem, and this is where every software developer runs away. That is basically because, let's head back to the previous example. Now, currently, right now, I'm appearing right here as a iPhone 12. I'm going to head over to YouTube, and on YouTube, I would want to show you something very fun. You can see this. This is what it looks like at the moment on YouTube, and it's basically like a mobile phone. If I click on any of the advertisements, the way the ads are being placed are quite different. You can clearly see right now that this ad's are actually showing for a mobile device. If I also scroll down, I could be able to see some click ads where I can click on things, but then I have to scroll up more. Now remember that the current dimension is 390 times 844. I'm going to now set my device right now to show as an iPad, and I'm going to head back to YouTube front page. Now you can see the screen has gotten bigger, and there again, I will look for another video this time around and select it. All right, so today I got hold of and got to poke around with the new iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pros. Now I wasn't able to see an advert at the moment, so let me try some other video. The Pope wearing a dripped out Balenciaga jacket. French president. Another one. Okay, let me head back again and pick up another video. I'm trying to stumble on an ad. Okay, I've not gotten an ad so far. After a while, another ad would show. Now, what I'm trying to really let you know is that the device type strongly determines where the ad is going to be shown. If I visit a website, for instance, a website has numerous designs, a mobile view, a desktop view, and a tablet view. So every software developer gets scared because if they use different device, the resolution has to match the device. And if they use a mobile device, for instance, how would they click on the advertisements, knowing fully well that the S part to a mobile phone is different from the S part of a desktop, which is different from an S part to a tablet. Different S parts, which also means different location. This becomes quite cumbersome for the average developer to program. Now, let us round up with this class. What you basically see right here is called a device cloner. All you have to do is to select a particular device, it picks the resolution, select the local storage, it's been extracted from the browser you're currently using, select your time zone, whichever time zone you want to start with, and then choose proxy server. The moment you fill up all these things, the AI model would create what we call a personality. The personality will be one who uses the device you choose. Then the resolution here is because we have already modeled different kind of devices. We already set what the advert looks like on YouTube on an iPhone. We already set what it looks like on an iPad. We have set what it looks like on a Windows computer. So whatever device you select from here, we already know where the advertisement are being placed. Like from the resolution, we've already built up different scripts to know exactly where Google AdSense is likely going to drop the advertisements. Then we have further scripts that will be able to check if an ad was dropped on one of the numerous locations, and if it was dropped, we run a check to know if that advertisement tallies with the interest we have, or if it would leave it to witness it sees an advert that will tally with the interest. So what do I mean by the interest? The interest is basically each time you create a person after the device, like this is a device clone, we have set in the device type, the local storage, the time zone, and the process server. The next thing we do is to set what this person using this device looks like. And that will be on the episode 2. I will show you how to create the personality clone. This video was just majorly to explain what the device clone is. So check out the next video on the personality clone. I would give you a full representation on what this um, personality clone looks like and what each of them or the role each of them plays on making this bot completely undetectable. This is far one of the biggest threats to Google, as I, for a person, after running this bot, was able to make over $15,000 consistently for months. Proof of earnings will be posted on this YouTube channel. And Google is yet to discover how this was done because it looks extremely real. I'm going to explain what the personality clone does. I'm also going to explain the interests. And I'm going to finally show you how to model an activity where the AI would generate day-to-day activity, click on the ads, and give you earnings that never get deducted. See you on the episode 2 of how to deploy the Okecbot.